Welcome to Designing Hollywood podcast. I'm your host for today, Eduardo Castro. And Designing Hollywood is dedicated to all things movies and the movie industry and its professionals. And today's podcast is being sponsored by DIANE Incorporated. Our guest today is an award-winning costume designer working in film and television. Her work is remarkably diverse, covering wide range genres of period, comedy, action, musical, and drama. Our guest has racked up an impressive roster of film and television credits. Some of her film credits include Broadcast News, As Good as It Gets, Miss Firecracker, Look Who's Talking, Sister Act, Come See the Paradise, and The Little Fockers, among many others. Her television work includes the groundbreaking series Tales of the City, that beautiful production of On Golden Pond, which was a live production with Julie Andrews and Christopher Plummer, Failsafe, The Patriot, The Homecoming. Recently, our guest finished a project called The Terminal List, which will soon be on Amazon, starring Chris Pratt. And one of my favorite television projects that our guest did was a project I would have liked to have done called Smash, for which she was honored with a Costume Designers Guild Award. Our guest has worked with some of the most prolific and important directors in the business, including Lawrence Kasdan, James Brooks, Amy Heckerling, Rob Reiner, Stephen Frears, Paul Weitz, and Alan Parker. Our guest has created costumes for the likes of Jack Nicholson, several times with Jack, I think, Diane Keaton, Eddie Murphy, Kevin Costner, Whoopi Goldberg, Robert De Niro, Morgan Freeman, Ben Stiller, Goldie Hawn, Robert Duvall, Charlize Theron, Holly Hunter, Chris Pratt, and Sir Ben Kingsley, among many others. A highly regarded artist in the field by her actors and directors alike, her work is deeply conceived and researched, and makes a profound impact on the projects in which she contributes. And without further ado, I am so delighted to have as my first guest on my first hosting job, the talented and award-winning costume designer, and also very dear friend, and also a former classmate from Carnegie Mellon, my dear friend Molly Maginnis. How are you, Molly?
I'm wonderful. What an amazing introduction. Thank you. I'm so proud that you would choose me for your first guest. We have a long history together.
A very long history. I mean, we really grew up together and we came up the ranks together. And I think in our professional careers, we helped each other out.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, we still do.
Right.
And, one of the first things I want to talk about is something that I think our audience is very, very interested in, and that is how did you? What made you decide to embark on this career? Because it is a career that there's no straight path. There's no like. Counselors in high school aren't saying, oh yeah, be a costume designer. It's sort of something you sort of have to figure out by yourself.
Yeah.
And back in the day, we didn't have mentoring. We didn't have what we have right now, where you can have a discussion on how to start, Right. So what was that one thing or what led you to want to become a costume designer?
Well, my path was, as a child, I loved drawing, painting. My parents really encouraged it. We went to a lot of museums. We saw a lot of theater. They loved opera. So I was exposed to a lot. But I also took acting classes and I acted as a kid. I loved it. When I went to college, I thought, oh, I think I'll become a fashion designer, but I wanted to go to an art school. To study and in a university. I went to Washington University in St. Louis for my bachelor's degree. And I took one fashion design course, and they were talking about, well, you have to convince the American woman this is what she needs, whether she looks good in it or not, and make it cheap, and blah, blah. And I was like, this is not for me. So I switched and became a painting major, and I was acting in different plays. And I was so interested in the relationship between fine artists like Picasso, who really contributed to the art of set and costume design. And it kind of started to link together. And I thought, I love fashion, I love clothing, I love storytelling, I love art. And I asked my professor, I said, I'd really like to design a show. And they had no program for it at all. And they hired someone to teach me and to execute my drawings. So I got the bug there. I went to Carnegie Mellon, got my master's degree, went on to New York to thinking, you know, I would have this full theater career. And when I got to New York, I was like, okay, 5 years, I'm going to be in an off-Broadway show. 10 years, I'm going to be on Broadway. Well, I beat both of them. But when I finally designed Showboat on Broadway,
yes,
I think I worked on it for a year and made about $11,000.
Yeah.
And I decided, where can I succeed as a woman, as a costume designer? I was designing a lot of operas too. And I kind of hit a glass ceiling. So I love movies. I've been a movie fan since I was a little kid. So I started sending out letters, and I was lucky enough to assist Albert Wolsky,
yes,
Ellen Moroznik, Gloria Gresham, Christy Zia.
Right.
And each one I learned something from, you know, each one of them has strengths. And so I was kind of sopping it up, and Ellen Moroznik helped me get my first movie.
And also each one was very generous to you.
Yes.
I had the same kind of experience with my mentors, but kind of the same way. And what's important to note is all of those designers you mentioned, Albert, Christy, Gloria, they're all established. And for them to embrace someone kind of out of the blue and mentor them and push them forward is a testament to either how you presented yourself and how they thought, oh, okay, let's give this person a chance. Because I know there's if I remember a story about, I think you told me about working with Albert Wolsky, and that was Sophie's Choice. Was that correct?
Right.
And I remember, I think you told me that there's a famous red dress in the film. There's a very famous red dress. And Molly said, I found that red dress in like a vintage store or somewhere, you know, and it was like not a lot of money.
Right.
And Albert took a look at it.
Costume shop.
Yeah. And,
right.
And Albert took a look at it and said, great, let's use it. And that tells a whole lot, because it says this person understood what the period was, what the character was, and brought me something that was of great use. And it ended up being in the film, right?
Yes, it did. And I'll say this for the young folks out there. Yeah. I was working at the Eve's Costume Company at the time, and I was swatching. I would go all over the city and swatch for different designers. And I knew Albert was going to be doing Sophie's Choice. I had read the book. I'm like, oh my God, I admired him so much. And I thought, oh, this would be great. And I had just worked with, I forget, maybe it was Christy, but I had been through every barrel of vintage clothes in New York City. I found in New Jersey where they had them in bales pulling vintage clothes. So I approached Albert and I said, I'd really love to work with you on film. He already had an assistant, but I said, I know where every vintage piece of clothing is buried. And he was like, really? And I said, yes. And he said, I love going into those basements. So we were able to, because of our shared love of like picking and finding and treasures, you know, we developed a relationship, and being able to stand in a fitting with Albert and Meryl Streep and watching how he addressed her, not just the clothing, but how he did a fitting. It was like hugely educational for me.
It's something that is absolutely amazing. I had the same kind of relationship with Ann Roth when I worked at Western. And for those new designers coming up, Molly is so right about the relationship you have with your actor in a fitting. You know, Anne was like, Anne really taught me that the key to a very successful fitting and that kind of situation was her confidence. She was totally confident in what she was presenting.
Right.
And that goes for anyone. And so she taught me that. And what Albert, who actually I just saw last week, is one of the most gracious men in the industry.
Really?
Gracious and very, very open. And, you know, you were very, very lucky to connect there. And I think
absolutely.
Yeah, but when you were did you, now you worked at Eve's, right?
I was there just doing swatching, and you know, I was scraping together a living doing any play, anything I could design, I did. And I just pursued it totally. You know, I figured it'll connect somewhere. And but I think what you're saying about the fitting room is so important. And I've taught some, and I always say, you go into that room, and what you're saying about the confidence, you are presenting a story that the actor has to tell, and you are guiding them in a sense that here is why. So you're giving them a reason for it. And I think it gives them confidence that this is well thought out. This isn't just somebody going, this is a really cute dress I got at Saks, you know, which doesn't mean anything.
No, it doesn't.
It's not character driven. It's not telling a story. And when you have your 5 minutes, 20 minutes, hour, whatever in a fitting room, I always feel like that is the most important thing, is that you convince the actor that you are telling their story in a really authentic way, and they feel confident, they feel safe.
No, it's very true. There's a famous story about Elizabeth Taylor and Irene Sharaff, and she was asked why she liked Irene Sharaff so much, and it wasn't, you know, of course, Irene Sharaff was the most spectacular designer, and she was created the most wonderful world. But what Elizabeth Taylor said, and I think this applied to maybe Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, because it was a very character-driven piece. Right. And what Elizabeth Taylor said is Irene Sharaff knew every scene and what was the pivot of every scene before and after, and so she knew all of that. So it's not just about putting pretty clothes on. It's not just about pretty. I've been an assistant with that, and you know, sometimes you get by, but I think an actor really wants you to go to the same place with them and discover. And the one thing, you know, we talked about going to Carnegie Mellon, which is was a wonderful school. It still is, but it was very different back then. And we came out, and it was very academic, and we came out academically prepared. However, there was a whole different education after we left. That is dealing with you know, how do I deal with a director like Herbert Ross, or how do I deal with an actress like such and such or so and so,
Right.
and you know, that whole thing is a separate thing. What was your first job when you left Carnegie Mellon? What was your first like job? Not your first break. That came later, but like you came out of, because I think when we were coming out of school, you either went to New York or you went to Los Angeles, and that was
right. I went to New York. I seriously thought I was going to be a theater designer, and I had contacts like people I knew from Carnegie Mellon. Remember Jeffrey Hitch, and different people were trying to direct small things in a black box. And so I was doing that. And then you just keep meeting people, talking to people. And then I we did summer stock in the same place. People you would meet there at summer stock. And then I think it was a little theater like the Rodale Theater in Pennsylvania. You know, you'd start moving around at these smaller theaters. Then I got company. I designed at Playwrights Horizons, and I did I did a play it was called Life is Dream, and it's from a Spanish poem. And it was Marie Irene Fornes, who is not alive anymore, but she was a famous Latina director. And first we did it in Spanish, and then we were going to do it in English on Theater Row. And I will never forget, I'm sitting in the audience, and I've done this. Marie Irene asked me to do this beat up suit, totally wasted it, made it look trashy like a hobo. And the actor is screaming at her in Spanish. And I have very little Spanish. And I leaned over to this actor and I'm like, can you tell me what he's saying? And he said, yes, it seems he thought he would be wearing a fur jock strap.
Oh, for crying out loud. That is so funny.
And I was like, okay, copy. So that was kind of funny. But you're right. I mean, so many experiences. I have to say, and I still love what I do. And I think it's funny stuff, crazy stuff. But
and I think that the current, let's say the current temperature of what's going on right now with the union and the eventual strike, there seems to be a lot of bitterness, and I'm hearing a lot of that. Fortunately for me, I haven't really. I'm not condemned to the set, so I don't have those treacherous hours and all that kind of stuff, and I still like what I do. I think we go up and down with our projects. Some projects you get and you just want to like, oh my God, is this ever going to end? Or get me off this train, and then there are those little projects that are little dreams, and everything comes together. And what you said, what you started to say. And what's important, especially for all those people listening, is that we both have the opportunity to be very classically trained. I could make a corset badly, really bad. I mean, really horrible. The suits I made were horrible, but I can guide a workroom. And
it's really important to understand how clothes are made.
Yes.
I see it all the time. Badly fitted clothing makes me crazy.
Yes. I recently saw a huge movie that I will not mention. Let's just say it's a medieval epic, and it's like I'm looking at it and I'm going, you had a lot of money, so why are these why are these clothes looking like curtains on
Oh my God.
somebody? You know, and you know, we came out of our training, and like I said, I'm not the best hat maker. I'm not the best this, but I did understand fabrics, and I did understand that. So guiding workers,
Crucial. It's crucial.
It's very, very crucial. And also it is about our careers are sometimes the points of what we have to do are time driven because we have very little time. Sometimes it's not about money. Sometimes it's about time. And you have to know in the back of your head, okay, this person's going to be able to make a suit in like a day or 2 days.
Tonight.
You call up Mr. O and say, okay, Mr. O, I need, and he's done it for me for Sean Connery, where I had to like make a suit to take to Spain in like a day and a half. So there I am. So you've got, in our business, it is crucial to know those things. And it's also, it is a business, what you just touched on, doing all these things and meeting all these people. It's really about meeting people and networking.
Yeah.
And, you know, you never know who's the person that's going to move you forward. I had a production coordinator when I was doing Miami Vice. After Miami Vice, a production coordinator called me up and said, I'm putting your name up for a movie. And I said, you are? And you know, and it was a movie with Marinire, and I got it, and blah, blah, blah. But it was from the production coordinator.
Right.
You know,
it's so true. Be nice to the PAs that are going to be
nice. Be nice to everyone. Be nice to everyone. And, you know, it does pay off. And the other thing is that we have gone through a process of like doing the little shows for no money, you know.
It's important to be solution driven. And I know people ask me, well, can you get that done? And I said, look, I did summer stock where you did a musical every 5 days.
Made to order.
No dress rehearsals. I said, yes, I can do it. I know how to do it. I know. We had an opera singer come. I did the Chautauqua Opera Festival once, totally lied about her sizes. And I had rented some costumes. It was Tales of Hoffman from Malabar up in Canada. And she comes down. And of course, she said she had like a 26-inch waist, and she probably had a 36-inch waist. And I'm in the middle of nowhere. Only Joanne Fabrics can I find. Yeah. It's cotton, and it has eyelets printed on it. It's not even eyelet cotton. And I'm figuring out how can I do the boning, because they don't sell boning, but they sell shirt stays, so I can cross stitch them and make my own boning. But it's really, you know, all this is packed into my head, like so. I never say no. It's like there's always got to be a solution. It may not be exactly what they want, but I feel like I've got that costume karma plus experience that says, don't panic. Think about solutions. What is it they want, really? You know,
it's what I call a certain DNA that we have. There are many designers that many designers are afraid of made to order, you know, and I find it very easy.
I love it. I'd like to do all of it.
I ran into a stylist once at Neiman's, and she was in a panic. She had to do a white cashmere overcoat for Ben Affleck. And she said, oh my God, I only have 2 weeks and I can't find one. I said, why don't you make it? Yeah. Oh, I can't make anything. I said, oh. You know, you and I know, hey, so-and-so can make it. So-and-so can make it.
Exactly.
And it's a business of as we grow and as we gain our experiences, you know, we sort of get to know things. I wanted to ask you something about one of your early films, which I think is wonderful. And that's Broadcast News.
Yeah.
And I remember I was in Miami designing Miami Vice, and you came to Miami. And
that's right.
yeah, right. You came to Miami and you said, I need to go shopping for, it wasn't much. It wasn't much. I think it was a couple of things. I think it was a shirt for William Hurt. I can't remember.
Yeah.
So I took you to Ball Harbor and we, you know, we did that. But broadcast news, I feel is an important film. And I wonder if you thought that was one of your breaking points into like the big studio film.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely huge.
Yeah.
I got in the room with the director because Christy Zia had been a costume designer on his previous film, and she wanted to move into art direction and production design, and she recommended me to Jim Brooks. So I went to meet him. He hired me. He took a lot of handling. He is so brilliant.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, I could tell you a lot. It's too much gossip. But it was a turning point, really, for me, to do a really big show like that. And I remember being at Saks Fifth Avenue with Bill Hurt, and we were sitting in Connie Buck's office, and I could hear out in the hallway Christy Zia and Polly Platt, who was a producer on it, and they're like arguing about what it should be. And I looked at Bill, and he looked at me, and he said, so what's your background? And I said, well, you know, I've done all this theater and opera and blah, 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 blah. And he went, great, we're going to get on great. And he said, what do you think? And I dressed him. And from that point on, he didn't want to hear from anyone else. I put the clothes in the room. He put them on. He was so gracious. And Jim was great. He was really great in that he speaks metaphorically.
Yes.
And when we did As Good as It Gets, every single major costume, he would say to me, don't F this up. And I'd say, I'm not going to. Don't worry about it.
One interesting thing about that film in particular is that you had Holly Hunter.
Yeah.
And Holly Hunter went to Carnegie Mellon. I think you had left the year, she came to Carnegie Mellon the year after you left. And she was one of my classmates. She was an undergraduate, I was a graduate. And I was designing sets, and she was on my paint crew for Kiss Me Kate. And, but the thing was, this was such an important film for her.
It was.
For her. And I just go back to your wonderful choices for her, because she's really tiny. She's really, really tiny.
Her hands.
I go back. Oh, I know. But one of the costumes that you chose was a Victor Costa dress, that famous dress that just did everything that it needed to do.
Let me tell you about the dress.
Please.
Because I wanted a full-length dress, and I was shopping. I'm in Washington, D.C. I saw that dress, and I said, I think this dress, if I could get fabric, I could like put some pleating, tucking, and make it full length, put a full length tulle skirt underneath, make a satin bolero jacket. So we did that. And the dress, what appealed to me was, I said, Holly, this dress is like the prom dress you never had.
Yeah.
And that bow makes me think you are a package waiting to be unwrapped. And it was like, it just hit me. But I did do some adjustments to
Well, that's the beauty of what we do, because a lot of people don't realize how much goes into, you know, finding something, which, you know, when I did Ugly Betty, there was a lot of stuff that I restructured that we completely remade. But it's not just taking it off the hanger. It's taking it off the hanger, adjusting it, and making it suit the scene.
Right.
And I thought that everything that she wore was really, really amazing. So my question to you is, once you did, her next film was Miss Firecracker, which you did.
Right.
Is that partially done because she had something to do with it, or was it complete? A situation where you were both hired separately? And
no, Holly recommended me to Tommy Schlamme.
Got it.
And I recommended Christy to be the production designer. So it was like a renewal. But I did all these sketches for Holly's clothes. And I went to talk to her about it. And she's looking at the drawings and she's like, wow, man, this is not what I did on Broadway. And I said, well, here's why I think this is what it should be. And I talked to her about it. And she's like, yeah, man, let's do it. You know, I can't do the Georgia accent.
No.
She was so into it, and it was completely conceptually different. I didn't even look at what she wore on Broadway. I didn't want to be influenced, and we made so much of the clothing on that show. I was in Yazoo City, Mississippi. I found one stewardess in the town who said she had been hit by a train, but she had enough memory to remember how to sew. She was my seamstress. But I had so much of the clothing made. It was really fun. Alfred Woodard, Mary Stevens.
Oh, Alfred. And Alfred.
Oh, my God.
Alfred is, I don't want to say, she's not easy. She's not hard, but there's something she requires, like a seasoned designer to.
Yeah. I made all of her clothes. All of them. It was so much fun.
I remember I did this really crappy movie of the week. It was so bad. It was so bad. They you know, when they showed it against the Oscars. That's how bad. But I remember Alfred Woodard was not used to designers that did their own sketches in a way. And so when I presented these sketches, she said, "Oh my God, you did these? You did these for me?" And I said, "Yeah." So lovely. Which brings me back to the point that we both are old timers. That really we still do pen in hand, and we came trained that way. And I have never used an illustrator, not because I haven't wanted to. I just haven't had the opportunity or
me neither.
Or the situation where, you know, of course, if I was to design a certain type of film, I would need one of our brilliant illustrators like Philip Boutet or Oksana. There are so many that they bring something different to the table than what we're used to. And also, producers now want to see that kind of imagery, you know. And I remember one time Sharon Davis, who we're going to have as a guest soon, also, she was doing Django. She was doing Django, and she had, you know, computerized drawings. And Quentin Tarantino said, "No, I want the oldie-timey watercolor drawings." And so Molly does beautiful drawings. She does beautiful drawings. I still remember your drawings from your thesis, which was War and Peace, which was beautiful. You know.
Thank you.
And you still draw.
Yes. Yeah. I'm doing a lot of painting now, and it's been great. I go to a figure drawing class once a week. You know, it's great to keep your skills up. It's great for certainly to get through the pandemic. I did a lot of painting.
So you've dressed quite a few people, and the one person you've dressed 3 times is Jack Nicholson. I had the opportunity to dress him once and found him to be kind of funny and charming, and
completely,
you know, just like he kind of puts his trust in you. Is that your experience with him?
The thing about Jack is, it's so interesting. I sat in his trailer once, and he had his script out, and like above every word there was some kind of symbol or a note. I mean, he was so detail oriented, and I mean, he was funny. I'd come with a rack of clothes to his house and he'd say, "What you got for me, Moll?" And I'd say, "Well, here's what I think. Here's what I want to do." And I'd show him drawings, and he's a painter.
Yeah.
So he appreciates that as well. He was great. I mean, he was a brilliant actor. The last show I did with him was The Bucket List.
Yeah.
And I remember he had just been in, it's like a gangster film. And all of his clothes were like hanging off him. Yeah. Nothing fit. Yeah. And I'm looking, The Departed, that was it.
Yeah, The Departed. Yeah.
And I'm like, why are his clothes look so terrible? And I had to get him in a suit for a funeral scene. So I went to Brioni, which he likes. And I think he told me, he's like, "I'm a 46, 48, something like that." And I'm like, "No, you're not." And I bought a suit, 2 sizes smaller, and I put it on him. And I mean, he looked like $1 million. And I talked to all the women on the set. I said, "Tell Jack how great he looks." And he loved that because he loved women. But I was like shocked that he had these horrible, it was like wearing sweatsuits as opposed to suits. Well, and I was like, no, we're not going to do that.
No, it's sometimes, I just fit an actor 2 weeks ago, Pedro Pascal, and the sizes that we were given were like, what? This doesn't sound right. I don't think he's a 17 neck. I don't think he's a 46.
Right.
Let me, so I went and got him a theory suit, 40, 42, and 44. And I said, the 42 is going to fit him. 42 is going to fit him. We go into the fitting room and he goes, "How did you know this?" He's like, "You know how I know is because I did Miami Vice for 2 years. So I knew I knew how to do suits." So
right. I know. Can't you just look at a guy and go, "Okay, 15 and a half, 42.
No. Anyone who's worked with me always gets upset because, they're fitting the extras and they're measuring him. And I look, "Oh, you know what? This will fit him. Here, put this
right. Exactly.
I remember having an argument over Julia Roberts. My assistant said, "No, she's not a this. She's a this size." "I know, but this is going to fit her." "No, it's not." And it did.
Yeah.
It comes with experience. It comes with experience. In terms of your film projects, you've done dramas and you've done comedies, the Little Fockers, and you have actors like Robert De Niro and Ben Stiller. How do you find, my personal experience a lot of times is sometimes the bigger the actor, the easier they are. I don't know why that is. And I don't know if that's your experience, but I always think that, well, they hired you for a reason. So you must be good at what you do.
Yes. And it all goes back to what you said about confidence. I mean, I always say everybody puts their pants on one leg at a time. So, we're all humans. Of course. I mean, when Sir Ben Stiller came in for the show I did, Perpetual Grace, which had a Western theme to it, he came for the fitting, and I got the star dressing room over at Universal. Yeah. I got, Mr. O over there. And I put together, I had custom made some things for him for this really important outfit that went for 4 episodes. And, you're a little bit nervous. He's kind of quiet. And I get it on. I had a custom made hat. He's standing there. I said, "Well, you'll have to wear this a really long time. So what do you think?" And he looked at me. He said, "What do you think?" And I said, "I think it's perfect." And he went, "Sold. Next." So, I mean, it was remarkable. It was like really quick. And he was so easy. He said, "The only thing I ask is, please don't come in my trailer in the morning and say you changed your mind about something." He said, "My preparation is such that I have to be uninterrupted." And I was like, copy that. I think we learn how to respect how to make our contact with people, what their working style is. I mean, there's some people you could sit in a chair with them and talk to them until they're ready to step on the set. Yeah. And there are other people you have to give space to.
Absolutely.
And certainly, I think it's important to remember these are our colleagues. It's not a place where you're making new best friends. These are our work colleagues, and we have to respect the space that way. And in return, they will treat you with respect.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that, you know, the situation of meeting an actor and getting their first glimpse of your talent and trying to convince them that you're on their side. You know, we're here to make it for you. And on the other hand, I've also had actors. You know, I had this pretty starlet, and the only thing she would say, I'd put something on, and she'd say, "Cool, that's it." But there was no give and take. There was no, you know, it's like sometimes I want a Marissa Tomei to say, "Why am I wearing this way? And what's this?" Like, you know, blah 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 blah. And because of this and the this and the this, and I convinced her once that, you know, I had an extra on Miami Vice, and I'm basing the character on her, and she was a little hot Cuban tamale, and because that's what Marissa was playing.
Yeah,
and you have to come in prepared to really connect with those actors.
Yes.
You know? And you know, they're different. You know, you've worked with you did one film that was big, and it was also I can't describe it, but you'll know what to say when I say the film. But Town and Country, right? Town and Country, where you have a director and then you have a producer, and then the producer is kind of the director, but it's like, right. Okay, you know, and that was a film where Gordon Caron was the director, right?
No, it was Peter. Oh, God.
Oh, that's right.
British director. I'll think of it. But yeah,
I think Warren Chisholm or something. Peter Chisholm or Peter. Something like that. Yes. Oh, I see. Yes, I see.
Right.
And then, no, Gordon did Love Affair with Warren Beatty. So that was the film. Right. So tell us a little bit about the craziness of that movie, because it was crazy. I mean, and
oh my God. Yeah.
You know, you had all these big people in it. You had money.
Right. So much money.
Yeah, you had money, but sometimes that's not the issue with it. But it was a huge movie. Didn't it go on and on?
Oh my God. It was 7 months, and we had a hiatus at some point. Yeah, we started off with this lovely little story about a married couple over 60 and, you know, what happens when things go awry. It was a comedy. It was really sweet, but it was Warren Beatty. And
yeah.
I mean, I don't know why he agreed to do it. He wanted to rewrite it every single day. And we had Diane Keaton and Goldie Hawn, who every day they were like ready at 6 a.m. And we never got a shot off before after lunch. And I was like, oh my God, they must be ready to kill him. So, but yeah, I mean, they would write in a whole wedding scene. I had this fabulous wedding dress fitted for Diane, and morning suits custom made for all the guys. And then they're like, we're cutting.
No, I remember.
I'm like, okay.
I remember I was working on Bulworth with Warren Beatty, and we had a day player, and she was concerned. She said, "Do you think we'll be done in 2 days? I have to be in Hawaii." I said, "Oh." She was on for like 7 weeks, you know. And I remember we shot one scene. Halle Berry and Warren Beatty in a limo for 2 weeks. Just with the costumers driving in a fallow van, you know.
Right.
And the reason I bring this up is our business is so crazy. There are those movies that are produced or made by Warren Beatty where you go, okay, there's a lot of money and there's a lot of craziness and there's a lot of this and there's a lot of that and there's a lot of changing. And then there are the quiet little movies where you're limited with time and money and maybe, well, we did one together.
Right.
Where Molly and I did one together in Texas. But so what do you enjoy in terms of working on? What is the kind of project you like working on?
It's not so much to do with period. It is more to do with, do I like the story? Do I think it's cast properly? Do I feel like the director has a vision?
Yeah.
That he is a good storyteller? And that's exciting to me.
Yes.
No matter what it is, to work with. I mean, I've had the good fortune to do 2 series with a showrunner named STEVE CONRAD.
Yeah.
And he's a genius. I mean, I literally believe he's a genius. His writing is so brilliant. And the way we collaborate, I bring him thoughts and he's like, and I could see he like works it in. And so he is taking ideas from me. He gives me great ideas, very visual, but he always knows exactly what he wants. He's got that strong idea of how he's going to tell the story. And it's like the crew will walk through fire for him, the actors, everybody. And that becomes, for me, my favorite way to work, when I feel that kind of mutual respect for what I can contribute and allowing me to contribute. I mean, I've worked on shows with people I don't particularly respect who zero interest in my ideas. They just, they pick the least interesting of everything. And you're like, okay, we'll get through it.
It doesn't become a rewarding experience. It doesn't. And I've been in that same boat. I've been in that same boat. And it's unfortunate. Tell me a little bit.
I do love doing research. I mean, when I did Come See the Paradise, we had over 4,000 extras. It was Alan Parker, who was also brilliant and brilliant visual storyteller. So he had a very strong idea of how to do it, and that it had to be very period accurate, like the undergarments to the outer garments. And we started 1939 and ended in 1949, tons of military. It was an enormous project. We shot in 4 different cities, so we were traveling. And I mean, I learned a lot. Our job is also management skills.
Oh yeah,
too.
no. It is about managing, and I find that currently a lot of there are new designers coming up, which is fine, but they could do a tremendous presentation and this and that. But they may come on and all of a sudden you have $100,000 worth of loss and damage, and their head goes, what? That's called management. It's called management. It's called working with the right supervisor. I was going to say I wanted to touch base on Come See the Paradise, because I think to me, it's one of your most beautiful designs. It's really beautiful movie, hair and makeup, everything, the lighting. It was a beautifully designed film. We yearn for those, their period. And then you have a director who has a point of view. Right. And who respects you. And that's absolutely terrific. I'm going to change the subject now to something crazy called Sister Act. And, which is a whole different turnaround from Come See the Paradise. You have Come See the Paradise, which is period correct. It's textural in one way. And then you have a high comedy.
Right.
Whoopi Goldberg and Maggie Smith.
Yes. Oh my God. When I went for the interview and the director was so lovely, I said, you really have to hire me. I said, I had 9 years of Catholic school. I said, my sensory memory of the nuns is so strong. I know exactly how the things should be made, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so he did hire me. And yeah, I mean, between Whoopi and Maggie, because we had to design the headpiece. First of all, I found a cloistered nunnery in Pasadena.
Uh-huh.
I made an appointment, and they allowed me and my supervisor to go over, and we sat in this room, and there was a Venetian blind. They raised it to the other room, and this nun was so charming. She's lifting it up. She's showing me how everything attaches, how they hand make their rosaries, everything. So we knew how it should be made, but we also had to make it so they could hear, they could sing. And the color of this piece, I mean, the photographer was like, he wanted it like practically brown for Whoopi.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I can't do that because she has to have the same color as Maggie Smith.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was like finding the right color with the bounce light. I mean, these are the old days of film, so now, you know, lighting is totally different. But
no, but that was kind of a little fun adventure for you. I mean,
it was fun. It was fun.
It was a fun.
And I had to make their dresses like ugly. They had to be ugly for Vegas, and Bob Mackey's shop made them, and they were so great. And yeah,
it's hard to do ugly. I have a hard time doing ugly. You know,
right.
I mean, there was a film. There was a show called Unorthodox.
Right, I saw that
show, and I recently met the designer Justine Seymour,
mm-hmm.
and I said, "Oh my God, I could never do that show because you did appropriately ugly clothes. They were so good. I would have a hard time doing. I'm just." Really not, you know, I know what I'm good at.
That's the story.
Yeah, but it is the story, and she hit the nail on the head.
Right.
One thing I wanted to talk to you about was moving into the world of television. One of my that show that you did, Smash, was one of my favorites, and that must have been a killer because it was huge. You had huge production numbers.
Yeah.
Big cast, multiple changes.
Right.
And all shot in New York. Tell us a little bit about that show.
Well, they hired me very late. They brought me to New York. No crew was available except a PA driver. Oh my God. I didn't have a costume shop because it wasn't ready yet. They just had a room.
Oh my God.
And so I'm looking at my PA and I'm like, well, it's you and me. We're going to do this. And luckily I met this young assistant costume designer named Michael Sharp. I met him in the pouring rain, and I'm sitting there talking to him, and I said, you are a kindred spirit. We are going to do this show. And literally, I had no shoppers. It was Michael and me. Yeah. I'm designing. We had a wonderful costume house in New York make the production numbers. And Nan Rose Buckman was in LA when I needed some period rental clothes. But it's like you say, management, you know, having to have all the balls in the air. I had 4 divas. They all had to have like 5 changes every episode. So it's like shopping, building, fitting, trying to, I mean, I have to say, Deborah Messing was great. She would say, well, I can't come back to the shop, but I'm going to be doing voice work if you come over. And we're like in a back room trying clothes on her. And she was like, great. But yeah, it was about 125 costumes every episode.
No, it was a huge show. It was. I had the same exact problem on Once Upon a Time. I got hired very late because the designer they said it couldn't be done. 450 extras at the
Right.
Cinderella's Snow White's wedding. Everything had to be made to order. When I got to Vancouver, not a single person was available. Not one person. And I was going to be in tears. And then what happened was there's a little movie called Superman that went down. So they went down for 6 months. So I grabbed that crew. I begged them because, we don't do TV. I said, no. But I found that Smash was must have been rewarding because it turned out very well. I thought that it turned out very, very well, and but it was huge. It was huge. It was huge. Would you say that was probably your biggest television situation with the most challenges?
Absolutely, because there were. I mean, you would have all these dancers, like a core of 10 dancers, 12 dancers, who'd each have 4 changes.
Yeah.
You'd have maybe 10 principals who might have 3, 4, 5 changes. Then you would have 2 significant musical numbers that needed to be designed.
Yeah.
And they might have, because it was about Marilyn Monroe, it might have scenes of people in period 50s clothes. So I would have to be talking to California. Here's each dancer. Here's their sizes. Here's what I want, the colors, blah, blah, blah. And that was like getting shipped, had to get fitted. Plus, we'd have to go into the city to do the custom clothes. It was huge. Plus, just shopping.
No. I would say that this is a show that couldn't go to someone unseasoned.
No.
without a tremendous experience. Same thing with Once Upon a Time. I always tell when I go, students, I say, you could design it. You could design it. There's no question. You could even design it better than me. But no one could make it happen like I did or like you did, because it's about the relationships. It's about, going into Neiman's and taking out $30,000 worth of clothes on your name alone because they know you, or going to fabric stores and pulling out thousands of dollars worth of fabric and taking it to Vancouver, and that. So that has to be said. But we have about 5 minutes left, and I wanted to ask you, if you were a young designer coming into this world now, what would you advise them are the important points that they need to be aware of? Because between when you started and I started and now the business has changed dramatically. Absolutely. So different. What kind of advice do you have?
I think it's really important that they assist designers that they can respect and learn from.
Yeah.
And I think making yourself valuable, like knowing the stores, making relationships with costume houses, like you say. I mean, Eddie, you and I can go anywhere and people will give us stuff because they know we'll make good on it. And it's so important from the get-go to have your reputation be good. As you say, be nice to everybody, be considerate, be polite. And I think pay attention, take notes, make yourself invaluable to the designer, and they will. I mean, I've had assistants I've really kind of helped to move along.
Yeah, I mean, I think
because I believed in them and that their time had come. They were ready.
Well, I think that's what our purpose is sometimes. Even people that come out to be PAs and things, and I discuss certain things. I said, well, it may not be the most perfect job for you, but if you stick with it, if you become a PA and with a major designer, don't go out there right away showing them your portfolio. Wait for a moment when it's calmed down and say, oh, I'd like to show you this. And then they'll be ready and open.
Right.
And I think that's a very, very good way of segueing into the closing of our conversation. I think we've had a wonderful career full of ups and downs, and full, small things, little things. But we both have reached a place where, we like to do certain things, and I'm not going to put myself out there to do something if I don't believe in it, especially if I can't connect to a director. That is the key thing. I always said, like you did, what are you looking to do? And I said, give me a good script. Give me a good script with a good director that can guide that script.
Right.
Because it can take a director,
I want to take the ride.
Yeah, no, we do. We absolutely want to take the ride. And I think that you have had a tremendous career, and it's not over yet.
No, I still love working.
No, it's good. It's good. It's really, really, really very, very, very good. But anyway, we've come to the end of our conversation. So I want to thank you, and I want to thank, of course, our guest, Molly Maginnis. And make sure you check out her newest venture, which will be coming on Amazon, the Terminal List. That's coming up soon. And we want to thank our sponsor, DIANE Incorporated, who in the business, he provides suits for everyone. And whether you need one suit or 100 suits overnight.
Right. 5 of the same suit.
5 of the same suit. I need 10 white suits. I can't find, DIANE's your man. So check out DIANE Incorporated, and we thank him for being part of our sponsorship. We also want to thank our executive producer, Martika Ibarra, and co-founder, costume designer, Marilyn Vance, and to our viewers for tuning in. And I hope that we've had a little insight into this wonderful designer. So it was great. Thank you, Molly, very, very much. And I'm your host, Eduardo Castro, and you can follow me on Instagram at Eduardo Castro 293. They made me say that. Anyway, till the next time, I hope to see more of more talented designers coming up on our wonderful Designing Hollywood podcast. Thank you very much.
All right. Looking forward to it. Take care.
Take care. Thank you.
Thank you to our viewers. Be sure to follow Designing Hollywood Podcast on social media and subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube for all of our episodes.